In the silence of the skies, two strangers find themselves sitting side by side. One is a soldier, hardened by the trials of war, carrying the weight of unspoken truths. The other, a woman grappling with her own past, unaware of the storm brewing in the life of the man beside her. What begins as a tense encounter quickly turns into an unexpected connection, until the turbulence of life takes them both on a journey they never saw coming. But when the plane shudders and the darkness looms, will they find the courage to face what lies ahead? It's just another ordinary flight, another group of strangers, each with their own stories, their own destinations, packed into the narrow confines of an airplane. And yet, within this crowd, something is brewing, an encounter unnoticed by most that will set the tone for everything that follows. Sometimes it only takes a glance, a word, or a gesture to change the course of an entire journey. Her name is Claire, a high-powered professional, always on the move, always in control. Today, she's heading to a business meeting in another city, her thoughts consumed by deadlines, negotiations, and presentations. The weight of her day ahead weighs heavily on her mind as she strides through the cabin, but there's something else too, a sense of irritation, someone out of place. And that someone is sitting in her seat. He doesn't belong here, at least not in her world. To Claire, the uniform represents chaos, disruption, something that doesn't fit in with her world of corporate structure and high-stakes decisions. She's used to order, to control. The soldier's presence in her mind is an unwelcome interruption, an inconvenience, but it's just a seat, right? It should be simple, a quick exchange, and everything should go smoothly. Claire told, "Excuse me, I think you're in my seat." Soldier told, "Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. I think I'm in 16B, this is 16A, right?" Claire isn't just annoyed by the seat. She's annoyed by the soldier's presence, by the uniform, by the reminder of a world she has little interest in. She's heard stories, of course, soldiers, heroes, people who sacrifice. But in her mind, it's all distant, abstract, not her world. She's not here to hear about duty or sacrifice or patriotism. She's here for business, for success. And this young man, with his uniform and his apparent lack of awareness of her important time, is a disruption. She watches as the soldier stows his things under the seat, keeping his movements quiet and measured. But there's something in his eyes that makes her feel uncomfortable. It's a look that says, "I don't need your approval." He doesn't care. She's just another person in his life, and he doesn't have time to make her feel comfortable. That thought, more than anything, bothers her. As the flight attendant makes her way down the aisle, Claire glances out the window, trying to distract herself, but her mind keeps drifting back to the soldier. She has questions. Why is he so young? Why is he here, so far from home? And why, despite the uniform, does he seem so ordinary, so human? The soldier told, "Is there anything I can do to make you more comfortable?" Claire told, "No, I'm fine, thank you." But little does she know, the soldier is about to show her just how wrong she is. The next few hours will change everything. What started as a simple exchange over a seat will soon unravel into a much deeper understanding, one that Claire never saw coming. It's been 30 minutes since the awkward exchange over the seat. For Claire, the unease hasn't settled. She shifts in her seat, trying to find a more comfortable position, but her thoughts keep returning to the young man next to her. Something about him doesn't add up. She can't pinpoint exactly what it is. He seems almost out of place in this setting, yet completely at ease. It's a discomfort she doesn't know how to process. Claire steals a glance at him, her eyes tracing his features. His face is youthful, too youthful, she thinks, yet his eyes are tired, burdened, like someone who's seen too much. There's something about the way he carries himself. The soldier doesn't seem like he belongs in a cramped airplane seat. He's not a businessman like her. He's not dressed for success. He's wearing the weight of something else entirely. Claire told, "So, what exactly do you do in the army? You don't look old enough to be, well, doing what you do." The soldier turns to look at her, surprised by the question but not offended. His eyes soften, the hint of a weary smile tugging at the corners of his lips. There's a calmness in his gaze that unnerves Claire, a calmness that contrasts sharply with the restlessness in her own thoughts. Soldier told, "I'm a medic. I've been deployed a couple of times." He speaks with such quiet conviction that Claire almost feels as if he's speaking about something far beyond a mere job. It's not just a profession for him, it's part of who he is, a role that defines his very existence. She waits a moment, considering his words. Claire's mind whirs as she processes this revelation. A medic. She tries to picture the soldier in her mind, not as the person sitting next to her, but in a different setting, in a war zone, tending to the wounded, seeing things she can only imagine. She has heard about medics in passing, brave, selfless individuals who risk their lives to save others, but she has never met one before. It feels abstract to her. A concept, not a person. Claire's gaze flickers to the window beside him. She watches as the sun begins to dip lower in the sky, casting a golden light across the cabin. The soft glow is almost peaceful, and yet it only seems to amplify the distance between them. She can't help but feel that the soldier, despite sitting right next to her, is a world away. Claire clears her throat again, pushing aside the discomfort she feels in the silence that hangs between them. She's not one to back down from a conversation, even if it's an uncomfortable one. She presses forward, her curiosity getting the better of her. "Claire, told you said you've been deployed. Where did you go? I mean, I can't imagine being so far from home." The soldier looks down for a moment, as if gathering his thoughts. His face softens, and his eyes flicker with something Claire can't quite name. Then, as if coming to a decision, he meets her gaze again. Soldier told, "I've been to places where the sky never seems clear, where the ground is hard and unforgiving. You see things that don't leave you, no matter how far you try to run from them." For the first time since the flight began, Claire feels a shift within herself. It's subtle, almost imperceptible, but it's there. The soldier's words have started to chip away at the armor she's so carefully constructed around herself. She had thought she knew hardship, thought she understood sacrifice. But his calm, measured tone, the look in his eyes, reveals a depth of experience she cannot touch, a life lived at the edge of existence itself. She doesn't know it yet, but this is the moment when everything will begin to change for her. She opens her mouth, ready to say something, anything, but the words die on her lips. There's nothing she can say that would do justice to the weight of what is just shared. Instead, she nods slightly, a gesture of silent acknowledgement, and turns her gaze back to the window, the cabin feeling suddenly too small, too crowded, for the enormity of the conversation that's just begun. The soldier doesn't say more, and Claire doesn't press him. They sit in silence for a while, each lost in their own thoughts. But the space between them feels different now. Tension still lingers, but it's no longer the same kind of tension as before. It's quieter, more contemplative, and as the plane continues its journey through the sky, Claire begins to wonder just how much she's misunderstood, how much she's misjudged, not just about the soldier, but about the world beyond her own narrow view, and what will happen when she discovers who is really going to see when this flight ends. There's a moment in every flight when the atmosphere shifts, when everything that once felt routine becomes unpredictable, even dangerous. The stillness, the comfort of altitude is ripped away by the unexpected jolt of turbulence, and in that moment all the carefully constructed walls of self-assurance come crumbling down. For Claire, that moment is now. The first jolt is subtle, a slight lurch in the plane, as if it's caught in a gust of wind. Claire's body tenses instinctively, her hand grabbing the armrest. She shoots a glance to the soldier, whose face has hardened slightly, as if he's anticipating something. At first, it's easy to dismiss the sudden dip as a minor inconvenience, a temporary disturbance. But then it comes again, stronger this time. The plane shakes more violently, sending a ripple of unease through the cabin. The overhead compartments creak, and a few gasps of surprise rise from other passengers. A mother clutches her child, her face pale, while a businessman's hand grips his briefcase with white-knuckled intensity. Her mind races as she watches the faces of her fellow passengers twist in fear. But what strikes her more than the turbulence itself is the soldier next to her. Unlike everyone else, his face doesn't betray any panic, any fear. He's not gripping his armrest, not holding his breath. Instead, he's calm. His eyes, once distant and withdrawn, are now focused, his expression soft, but composed. Claire, told, is this normal? I mean, should we be worried? Her voice shakes slightly, betraying the unease she's trying to hide. The soldier, sensing her anxiety, turns to her. His eyes are steady, calm in a way that seems almost otherworldly. He doesn't say anything right away. Instead, he simply looks out the window for a moment, as if waiting for the turbulence to pass. His hand rests on the armrest between them, fingers relaxed. Soldier told her, it's nothing to worry about, just turbulence. It happens. Planes are built to handle it. It's strange, Claire thinks, how much comfort she finds in his words. His calmness acts like a balm, soothing the raw edges of her panic, even if just for a second. She still doesn't understand why he's so calm, why he seems so detached from the rest of the world. But in this moment, that detachment is a lifeline she didn't know she needed. Claire watches him, transfixed. He's a rock amidst the chaos, and for a brief moment, she feels a strange wave of respect wash over her. This young man, this medic who has seen the horrors of war, is here, holding space in the midst of the turbulence, with a quiet strength she hasn't known she needed. It's as though the world outside doesn't exist for him, as if he's been trained to be immune to the things that terrify ordinary people. Claire takes a slow, deep breath. She glances around the cabin, taking in the scattered expressions of fear, but it's his calm that stands out. She's seen soldiers on TV, on the news, in documentaries, always portrayed as heroes, always stoic in the face of danger. But in this moment, she's beginning to realize that there's more to them than what the media shows. Soldiers aren't just tough on the battlefield, they are tough because of everything they carry, everything they've had to endure to survive. Soldier told, it's over now, just breathe. Claire nods, her mouth slightly dry. She glances at him, her eyes lingering for just a moment longer than usual. She's no longer thinking about how out of place he seems, how much he doesn't belong in her world. In this moment, she realizes something. He does belong. In his own way, he belongs here just as much as she does. Claire shifts in her seat, adjusting her posture. She has tried to distract herself by staring out of the window, but her thoughts keep circling back to the soldier. She's never been one to be caught off guard by things, whether it's business, personal matters, or even unexpected turbulence. But something about the way he handled the situation, the way he remained composed, has unsettled her. For the first time in a long while, Claire feels a sense of vulnerability she's not used to. The flight may have leveled out, but her emotions have not. It's strange, this feeling of wanting to apologize. Claire isn't someone who apologizes easily, especially not to a stranger. She's always been the one in control, the one with the sharp words and the polished exterior. But the turbulence, the way she panicked, had made her realize something. She had been so caught up in her own world, her own projections, that she hadn't taken a moment to truly see the person beside her, and now the weight of her earlier judgment is heavier than the brief fear she experienced during the flight. Claire told, I'm sorry for earlier, I guess I was a little on edge. Soldier told, there's no need to apologize. It happens. I mean, turbulence always gets to people. It's not easy to keep calm when you're not in control. The soldier's words are a balm to the part of Claire that had been wounded in her own pride. The idea that someone could be so understanding, so compassionate, without the need to fix her or belittle her is a revelation. She thought she was the one who always held the power, the control. But now she realizes that it's not about dominance, it's about connection, about being real with each other even when it's uncomfortable. Claire told, I never really thought much about soldiers, about what they go through. I mean, we see the news, we hear the stories, but it always felt so distant, so separate from my world. I guess I never really saw the people behind the uniforms, not until now. Soldier told, it's easy to think that way. People see soldiers as symbols, not as individuals. They don't understand the weight of what we carry, not just the gear, but the memories, the losses. It's not something you can just explain to someone who's never been there. There's a change in Claire as she listens to him. The walls she's built around her understanding of people, of the world, are beginning to crack. The soldier's honesty, his ability to share a piece of himself without asking for anything in return, makes Claire realize just how much she has misunderstood. The way she had judged him earlier, dismissed him as out of place in her world, it all feels so distant now. How had she allowed herself to believe that her world was the only one that mattered? Claire told, thank you for being so understanding. I think I needed that. Soldier told, no need to thank me. We all have our battles, even if they look different. The words hang in the air between them, a quiet acknowledgement of the connection that has formed in the midst of an unlikely situation. As the flight continues on its course, neither of them feels the need to fill the space with more words. For now, the silence is enough. It's a moment of understanding, of humanity shared between two strangers who, for a brief time, have crossed paths in a way neither of them expected. Claire leans back in her seat, her eyes once again glancing out the window, watching the soft, undulating sea of clouds below them. The golden light of the setting sun is fading, casting a serene glow over the cabin. But despite the beauty outside, her mind is preoccupied, tugged back toward the soldier. There's something more she needs to know, something she feels compelled to ask. Claire told, can I ask you something? Of course, what's on your mind? Claire told, you said you've been deployed. You never really told me where you were going. I mean, I know it's personal, but I'm just curious. I've never really known someone like you. You seem different, like you've been through things I can't even imagine. Her words hang in the air, vulnerable and raw. She isn't sure what kind of answer she's expecting, but she knows it won't be easy. She doesn't know if he'll even want to share it with her. And for the first time since meeting him, she feels a deep sense of uncertainty about what she's just asked. Soldier told, I've been to a lot of places, but the one that stands out is Afghanistan. That's where I spent the majority of my time. It was different there. It wasn't just the landscape or the heat, it was the constant sense that anything could change in an instant. The moments that should have felt peaceful, like sitting with the local children, felt fleeting. The moments of calm were like fragile glass, waiting to shatter. The silence between them stretches for a moment, heavy with the weight of his words. Claire isn't sure what to say. She's always been good with words, always able to find the right thing to say at the right time. But now she feels something inside her shift, something she can't explain. She's hearing this man in a way she never thought possible. She's hearing history, his truth, and it's breaking down the walls she had built around her understanding of the world. It's as though she's seeing the man beside her for the first time. Soldier told, it wasn't all bad though. There were moments. I remember the way the sunset looked over the mountains, how the air felt cooler at night. I remember the kids, how they'd smile when we'd hand them small bags of food or a toy. There were things there that kept you going, things that reminded you of why you were doing it. But there were also the things that you couldn't forget, the things you had to carry with you. Age Claire told, I can't imagine what that must have been like. Soldier told, it's hard to explain. People who haven't been there, they don't get it. But that's okay. You don't have to. Just be kind to people, to those who've seen things like that. It's the little things that make a difference. Just don't forget we're all carrying something, even if we don't show it. The flight continues, but the world around them seems to fade into the background. In this moment, it's just the two of them, two souls, navigating an uncertain world. And Claire knows that she will never look at life the same way again. She's not sure where the conversation will go from here or what will come next, but she knows this moment will stay with her forever. As the hours tick by, Claire becomes more and more aware of the silent tension between them. The revelation they've shared so far, his time in Afghanistan, the quiet strength he exudes, has opened a door in her mind, a door she hadn't realized was closed. She is starting to understand him, but she feels like there's still a deeper layer beneath the surface, something he's yet to reveal. He's let her in, yes, but not completely, and she's about to find out why. The soldier shifts slightly in his seat, adjusting the straps of his bag at his feet, his movements slow and deliberate. Claire watches him, the curiosity that had been simmering beneath her questions now bubbling to the surface. She wants to ask more, to press for the details of his experiences, but there's something in his demeanor, a guardedness that makes her hesitate. It's like he's walking a fine line between sharing and protecting. Soldier told, there's something I didn't tell you earlier about why I'm heading to the States. Claire told, you don't have to tell me if you don't want to. I mean, I understand if it's personal, but I'm listening. Soldier told, I'm going to see my sister. She's not doing well. It's been hard for her, and I've been away too long. There's a lot I've missed, things I should have been there for, and things that I'll never be able to make up for. Soldier told, my sister, she's been struggling with addiction for a while now. I've always felt guilty, like I couldn't be there for her when she needed me. I was always so far away, dealing with my own stuff, and now I don't know what to expect. I don't know what I'll find when I get there. Claire told, do you think you can fix it? What's happened? Soldier told, I don't know if I can fix it. I don't even know if I can make it better. I just know that I have to try. That's all I can do. And I'm scared. I'm scared that I'll get there and it'll be too late, that I'll never be able to bridge that gap. I don't have the answers. I just have to show up. Claire told, you're doing the right thing, showing up. Sometimes that's all anyone can do. For the first time, Claire feels like she truly sees him. The soldier is no longer a figure in a uniform, a symbol of strength and stoicism. He is a human being, struggling with the very same fears, doubts, and regrets that everyone carries in their own way. And in this moment, she understands, really understands, that no one is immune to the weight of life's challenges, not even those who appear invincible. The soldier is no longer just someone she's sharing a flight with. He's someone she's connected with, in a way that goes beyond the words. The soldier, however, remains quiet beside her. His gaze is fixed ahead, his body slightly tensed, as if mentally preparing for what comes next. Claire wonders if he's thinking about the same thing, his sister, the unknowns of what he will find when he lands. She wants to say something to break the silence that has enveloped them, but just as she opens her mouth, the plane lurches unexpectedly. The sudden movement catches Claire off guard. For a split second, her stomach drops as the plane jerks through a pocket of air, causing the cabin to tremble. Instinctively, she reaches out for the armrest, bracing herself for something more dramatic, something worse than the usual turbulence. But as quickly as it comes, the turbulence subsides, leaving an eerie calm behind. The hum of the engines continues, but the tension in the air has changed. There's something unnerving in the way the flight feels now. Claire looks over at the soldier. His face is as unreadable as ever, but his body has stiffened, his hands now gripping the edge of his seat. For a moment, she feels a flicker of concern. Something feels off. It's as if the air in the cabin has changed. The normal sounds of the flight seem quieter, more distant. She can feel her heartbeat quicken as the strange sense of unease spreads through her. Claire told, "That was odd, wasn't it?" The soldier doesn't respond immediately, and Claire turns toward him, her brow furrowed. She's about to ask him again when suddenly the voice of the flight attendant crackles over the intercom, cutting through the tension in the cabin. Flight attendant told, "Ladies and gentlemen, we are experiencing some unforeseen delays as we approach the airport. Please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened and we'll keep you updated. Thank you for your understanding." Claire's chest tightens. The flight isn't even landing yet. Why are they delaying now? She glances at the soldier again. His face has gone pale, his eyes no longer focused on the seat in front of him, but on the window beside them, where a soft glow from the airport lights is beginning to illuminate the approaching horizon. The soldier's sudden stillness alarms Claire. She's seen him calm in the face of turbulence before, but this is different. It's like he's holding his breath, waiting for something. The sense of unease in the air grows palpable, as if the entire cabin is holding a collective breath, suspended in time. Then, as if the universe had decided to test them one last time, the plane jerks once again, this time more violently than before. The entire cabin shakes, the lights flicker once, twice, and then the emergency lights flicker on, casting a red glow across the faces of the passengers. Claire gasps, her heart racing. She reaches for the soldier's arm instinctively, her fingers brushing his sleeve as she tries to steady herself. Claire told, "What's happening? Why are we—" But before she can finish her question, the captain's voice comes through the intercom, sounding strangely distorted, almost at static field. Captain told, "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a situation. Please remain calm. We are experiencing some technical difficulties. We will be landing shortly." The plane rattles again, this time with a deep, terrifying groan. Claire's breath catches in her throat. The situation feels dire, and the soldier beside her has gone still, his face ashen, his hands gripping the armrests so tightly that his knuckles have gone white. His breathing has become shallow. Claire stares at him, suddenly realizing that this situation is not just turbulence, it's something far more serious. The soldier's calm demeanor has shattered, replaced by a profound tension that Claire can't ignore. Her mind races, heart pounding in her chest. What is happening? Why is he so affected? The flight attendant hurries down the aisle, her face tight with concern, whispering hurriedly to a few passengers in the front. Claire's eyes log with the soldiers for a fleeting moment, and something unspoken passes between them, a realization, a shared fear that they both now sense. Something is terribly wrong, and it's all happening so fast. Claire told, "What's happening? What do we do?" The soldier looks at her then, and for the first time, she sees the fear in his eyes. He doesn't say anything, but his grip on the armrest tightens further. He opens his mouth, but no words come out, his expression one of intense focus, as if listening for something in the air. Then, with a sudden, almost frantic movement, he pulls his bag from under the seat and unzips it quickly, searching through it. Claire watches him, heart racing. What is he looking for? Why is he so desperate? And then, just as she feels the tension in the air grow unbearable, the plane lurches forward one final time, and the overhead lights flicker violently. What do you think will happen next? Do you believe the soldier's journey will end in reconciliation or heartbreak? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more emotional twists and turns like this. You don't miss the next story.